So, you've stumbled across the Inattentive ADHD podcast, otherwise on this page. So, you're probably asking yourself, wait a minute now, why isn't there a page for people who have intensive ADHD? There's the how-to ADHD with the that really perky young lady who does a lovely job demonstrating the hyperactive ADHD type. But there's no channel for the inattentive type. Now, why is that? It's because, just like me, we don't give a crap about going and, making videos and throwing the pom-poms in the air and fireworks and backflips and all this and that. People with ADHD like myself, we have to absolutely love what it is that we do for us to be motivated enough to do it and to even give it a shot. This is because of the way our prefrontal cortex right here functions, and also our lack of neurotransmitters. But I don't know what neurotransmitters are. Well, I'll be explaining a little later in the video, and hopefully, you little twat, you can pay attention. Anyway, so there's 3 different types of ADHD. There's the hyperactive type, which everyone and their mother knows about. And then there's the inattentive type, which is what this channel will be focusing on. And then there is the combined type that has a mixture of both. It's not 50-50, but it's a mixture. The neurotransmitters involved with the condition, as we call it. I don't like to call ADHD a disorder because I can do many things better than a lot of people. I'm also worse at doing certain things, so, give or take. You judge a fish from the perspective of a bird, poor guy's a failure, right? So, same thing with us. Slick. For those of you who have taken a physiology or biology class, you'll probably be a bit familiar with what happens with neurons. Neurons, we have millions of them in the brain. They fire off, based off little electric impulses and little circuits that fire off through the ion channels and etc., etc. The main point is that these neurons fire off something called neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters are these chemicals that are basically transmitted through axons and dendrites, etc., etc. If you want to see an interesting video on it, I would recommend seeing it'll be in the description below. So anyway, the way that neurotransmitters work is that they're transferred back and forth as messages from different neurons. So, one neuron communicates with another neuron through sending those neurotransmitters. There's millions of them. So some people, because of nature or nurture, a combination of both, have more or less of one neurotransmitter. And that's how certain disorders or conditions come to be. So with ADHD, the ones that we lack are dopamine, norepinephrine, serotonin, GABA, and a couple of other neurotransmitters. Those are the main ones. So, dopamine, norepinephrine, serotonin, GABA. Sounds like a band. Sounds like a group of guys. Well, it's not. Interesting names, kind of like Chirp, Flanagate, Snap, Crackle, Pop, da-da-da-da-da. Anyways, I digress. What does dopamine do? Dopamine deals with the motivation and arousal in what we feel like. So obviously, for people with the condition, we heavily lack dopamine. Thereby, we lack motivation. We lack arousal. So basically, people who have the inattentive type, we want to have that. And we have a set few amount of things that do that for us. The hyperactive types, on the other hand, they can get stimulated by a lot of different activities, being around people, you know, going nutty, doing etc., etc. But the inattentive types like myself, we are only stimulated by a select few activities. And for me, that was music growing up. Thankfully, I have that. And for other people, it may be, I don't know, sports, carpentry, fill in the blank, you tell me. Anyway, for certain, we are able to hyperfocus on that. What's hyperfocus? Hyperfocusing is when someone with a condition, we can all do this, I believe all 3 subtypes of ADHD can do this. When we focus really hard on something and just focus to the point where we are able to eliminate any stimuli to the left, right, up, or down of us, and we just look at something. For example, I go to the market, I look at a can or something, I look at the ingredients, I'm very health conscious about what I eat. I look at the ingredients, and I can stand there for 15 minutes thinking about a million different things as I'm reading, and I'm able to ignore everything else around me. And I probably look like some sort of weirdo, you know, just standing there reading it, but I'm able to hyperfocus my thoughts really well. So that's a gift that people with ADHD can do. Anyways, going back to the neurotransmitters, we do have an issue with dopamine over here in the prefrontal cortex, which is a very, very important area of the brain if you study how a lot of disorders and conditions work throughout the history of mankind. So, very important part of the brain. So we lack dopamine, arousal, and motivation, and a plethora of other things that go with dopamine. So I'm just giving you guys just a face-on value. You know. Otherwise, I can be here all night just talking about dopamine or other neurotransmitters. So anyway, norepinephrine. So norepinephrine basically is known to increase alertness, arousal, and speeds up reaction time. Now, I don't know about you, but when I was in high school, if I wasn't into what I was doing, and 95% of the time I wasn't into it, I was like Daria. Who's Daria? Well, for those of you who are around my age and grew up in the wonderful 90s, for those of you who weren't alive back then, you missed everything. Just face it, you're gonna go to the grave, living a boring, meaningless life. And I'm joking to some extent. So anyway, yes. So norepinephrine basically works off increasing alertness and arousal and reaction time. So when I was in high school, I basically just sat there, just lit, you know, kind of just. What's the word I'm looking for? You ever watch a show, Two Stupid Dogs? There was this one dog, very serious, just very just chill, almost like, what's the word, like lethargic. Basically, just imagine Jay Mathis from Dinosaur Jr. to an extent. And that's how people with ADHD are. We're not very fast moving. We're very just kind of whatever about everything. Very apathetic and just don't care. Like, our mood is constantly down, we're constantly bored and in our own thoughts, and we're not moving much outside like the hyperactive types are, but there's an orchestra like going on up here of ideas. There's a world of imagination, just craziness going on up there. So people with inattentive type, or all the types, we're all pretty creative and abstract people because we have a lot going on in our mind. All our minds are faster than neurotypicals. What's neurotypical? Neurotypical is someone who does not have a condition or disorder. Someone who is basically more on the normal. And what's normal? Well, let me define what normal is. Normal is basically having characteristics, and at least in this example, a frequency of actions and of neurotransmitters that are more akin to the common type of person. Basically, the larger group of people who don't have this condition. Over here in America, studies have shown that people, only 4% of the population seems to have the condition. Probably thinking 4%. That's not that much. It's quite a huge number. It's more than a million if you do the math and statistics, which I hate math and statistics, so go do it yourself. Anyway, the next neurotransmitter is serotonin. Serotonin deals with mood. Mood, happiness, perkiness. So now, people who are inattentive types like myself, we're not known to be super chippy and happy. I'm just in a good mood right now. That's why I'm doing this video. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing this video. But serotonin deals with the mood, kind of the feel-good feeling, like laughter, bonding with like a friend, sacrificing animals, the good stuff. So anyway. I'm just joking about that last one. You people slam me, but yeah, serotonin. People who have depression, they're known to lack serotonin. People who have high levels of anxiety, and different sorts of anxiety. There's a million, well, not a million, but there's many different types of anxiety disorders. And serotonin is a key component of that. So people who suffer from depression, mood, anxiety-related conditions, that they lack serotonin. So that's rather importante. And then we have GABA. So GABA to me is an interesting one because GABA deals with how relaxed the body is, how sensitive the skin is to touch, and what angle you can kind of be in and relax for a long time. When I was younger, I was not able to ever spend a night like at a friend's house because I couldn't sleep in another bed that wasn't mine. It would take me maybe 3 hours to be able to fall asleep. If I wear a shirt that has fabric that is uncomfortable for me, or slightly uncomfortable, my body, my receptors, my afferent neurons will constantly be letting me know, hey, you're uncomfortable, comfortable all day. So our bodies are really sensitive to touch and texture and feel. So the classic example of going to a restaurant and sitting somewhere near or underneath a fan, yeah, we're gonna feel that amplified. We're gonna feel anything that touches our skin or that we hear very amplified. Now, I'll be mentioning another theory as to why that is in a different video. Stay tuned.